Hello everyone and welcome back to Disc Golf Examiner. Today we're bringing you coverage from the 2024 Butler County Disc Golf Classic, sponsored by Innova. My name's Brian, I'm your host, and today I'm joined by course designer Jay Gary Dropcho. Jay Gary, how's it going?
Hi Brian, I'm doing really well.
And also Mark Fedorenko, who's currently third on this card. Mark, how are you doing?
Doing pretty well. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me back, Brian.
And thank you again for joining me. Of course, we had beautiful weather this day, maybe a little windy there at the beginning, but definitely just great weather this weekend. I absolutely love coming out here. North Boundary Park is a real challenge of a course. And I think, when we have the top level players in town, it's always great to see them have a real challenge here. In first place at 12 under right now, we have Chandler Kramer. He has one heck of a sidearm. We have Joel Freeman in second place here, 10 under. And he's actually the two-time. He's won this tournament 2 times in a row. Mark, you're here in third and 2 under.
Yes, sir. Trying to chase those 2 down.
And Ben Welfley. He's at 1 under. This should be really interesting. I'm really excited to get into this, but let's take a word from our sponsor real quick. So starting off, we're going to start off on hole 1, which is a par 4. And it is 692 feet. Of course, you play kind of over a little hillside here, from hillside to hillside. And most people are going to try to land around this tree, I would think, right, guys?
Yeah, you're gonna see a lot of the main drives trying to push past that big tree and give themselves a look into this gap. Ideally a little bit further right because it shapes the shot up to this basket a little bit better. This is a really tricky green to reach into.
Yeah, and I will say that it's been really great to see these big arms come out here, and they got to try to get around that tree from the drive, and it's pretty tough.
Yeah, there's been a couple trees that have come down over the course of the years, and it's really made this gap a lot more tenable, but it's still a pick your poison kind of approach.
Yeah, each year that passes, there's just a ton of changes being made to the course. You'll see throughout our drone coverage. So Chandler Kramer up here on the tee. He's got a wicked sidearm.
Oh, yeah, 100% a forehand specialist. If we're lucky, we might see him throw 1 or 2 backhands out over the course of the whole tournament.
That's a good location.
Joel Freeman up on the box next.
Yeah, you're going to see a little bit more of the traditional righty play out of Joel, throwing the tall hyzer up around the tree.
And we did have some wind to contend with here off the tee as well.
We did, but fortunately all 3 days we've had this right to left kind of alternating between a head and a tail, but that's the wind you want for this shot to help really push you further up the hill.
Yeah, if you can get to the top of that knoll, then you got a good look into the gap.
Mark being the
story here, trying to get up to the same spot that Joel did, and I'd like to thank one of the assistant tournament directors, Henry Law, for giving me this disc, but I unfortunately did not do it justice and leaked it into the tree for the 3rd day in a row.
All right, and Ben up on the tee now.
Yep. I had the good fortune of playing with Ben earlier this year at a tournament down in Florida, and he's a pretty evenly split forehand backhand player.
And that's just a great shot. He's going to get, okay, just underneath that tree and skip up through. So, Mark, you're looking at the gap here, but you have a little bit of hill in your way too, right?
Yes, if you don't make it about 60 feet, 50, 60 feet past the tree, you're contending with an uphill run up into a tunnel. So it brings the ceiling and the floor into play. So at this point, I'm really just hoping to hit the gap and get some kind of reasonable approach to get up and down for par, and was able to get away with it after hitting the tree in the main gap. I've seen all different kinds of shots shapes from here. You've seen forehand rollers, backhand rollers, forehand turnovers like Ben's throwing, and as we'll see when we get up to
Wow.
Joel's shot, a little bit more of the traditional space. But Ben puts an incredible flex shot down to give himself a look from mid C2 on a hole that I don't think till this point has seen a birdie all weekend.
And Chandler going with a roller on this one. Oh, way up. Oh, he's going to catch something. He's going to catch a tree there and kind of trickle down.
Yeah, it looked like he overturned it just a little bit.
Yeah, Joel's in the best position here. He's looking right into the gap, and he can see the basket.
Oh, and just looks like he's going to bounce a little bit right there.
Yep. Even in the best position possible, it's not a gimme shot or a stock shot. It's still a choose your own adventure. Chandler lays up the forehand nice and easy here. And I've just got a stock little nose up backhand approach shot. Felt fortunate to not have anything in the way, as Joel's going to try to copy that line. Maybe try to ring it up just a little bit. And that'll be set up. He's set up nicely for a tap in par.
Ben here has a look just at the edge of circle here.
Split those trees, and unfortunately he sails it a little wide.
So here he is for his par. Kind of a little scary because you could have a roll away on this hole.
That'll be a theme of the whole weekend going forwards.
Oh, and that was great. It was a little high, but he landed straight in the basket, which is great.
Yeah, you'll be able to tell throughout the course of this round when Ben gets his putt on that little bit of Anheuser out of his hand, it goes in pretty much every single time. So when you see the putt exit his hand on that touch of Anheuser, you can expect it to go in.
Chandler there for his par. Everybody looks like. So we're going to go ahead and move on to hole 2, which is a par 4. It is 579 feet. You have to throw up the hill, through the gap, and out across this field, really. There was actually a change this year. Instead of going to the left, you're coming down the hill. And when you come down the hill, it is in a guarded section of trees down here, which is pretty cool.
Yep. Fortunately, we're dealing with the same wind from hole 1, that right to left should help keep everybody up at the top of the hill. They did move this pin position down the hill a little bit further, so you won't be seeing quite as many people get eagle looks at this hole as they were. But it is a change that definitely makes the green a little easier to approach on the second shot.
Chandler with that sidearm up the hill. I think, that looks like that's going to finish right.
It's going right.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll stay on the hill.
Yeah. Missed the height on that just a little bit, but fortunately with the forehand angle, it shouldn't really have the opportunity to roll down the hill.
Ooh. And Joel's piping that one straight across the field.
Matches the hill perfectly.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
So that's easy up for him.
And I'm looking at this thinking I have to follow that and give it my best effort, but it's you can tell it's just not quite coming out with the same pace that Joel's able to put on it. But I'm very happy with that spot.
Though. You'll be looking at the basket. Getting up through the gap, that's the key.
Yeah.
And Ben will be a little shorter up on the hillside, but I mean that still gives you a good look down the hill, you know.
He's on a flat spot. He can
Yeah.
get a good run up.
Yeah.
And this
And for
is an
players of
easy
this
approach.
caliber, anything that reaches the top of the hill and clears the gap should give them an opportunity to get up and down for birdie. Ben's approach hits some trees, and he gets, I think, right just inside the edge of circle 1.
Chandler having a great shot up there, and he's within probably just
You can
circle's
see that
edge.
flag is stiff. I mean, it's blowing.
And those aren't lightweight flags either. Just throwing a little Toro shot down here, trying to get in mid to short circle 1. I'm pretty happy with that approach. And Joel, after the monster drive.
Oh, wow. He almost had an eagle shot there.
Guess we might have to back this hole up at some point, Jay Gary.
Or extend it or plant some more trees.
Oh, unfortunately, just a little high there. Maybe the wind kicked it up a little bit.
Yep.
Ben, beautiful birdie for Ben.
Yep. Good job managing that slight downhill putt into the crossing headwind. It's a tricky putt.
No problem for Joel though.
I'm looking at this putt. I had about the same distance the previous day, and I missed it and ended up going on to 3-putt this green. So I'm really happy to
put
that one right in the heart and start this day off a little bit better than the previous one.
I was wondering, you said a little mantra to yourself after you hit that one. So I was wondering what happened to you earlier in the weekend. Here we go on to hole 3. It's par 4. It is 530 feet uphill, and we're talking straight uphill. This is more like, it says 530.
Like 125 feet of elevation gain.
Yeah, it's an absolute monster, and definitely, where do you want to throw here, Mark, to get a look?
Off the tee, you're going to want to throw right at the top, right towards that power line, the big tall power line structure. Mm. There's a flat spot about 280 feet up the hill where the steepness of the hill levels out a little bit. And if you can get to there, that's a pretty good spot to attack the green, because with the flatter footing, it helps you get a little bit more power on it. If you get further up the hill beyond that, it's better. But that you're starting to look at some of the best power throwers in the world still only throwing 300 feet off this tee.
Yeah, Joel here looks like he's lining up that backhand again and that is a rip up that hill.
Absolutely smoked. He's gotten himself about 220, 230 feet out, and that's about as good as you can ask for. I'm throwing a lightweight destroyer here, and you can tell I'm walking off the tee right away because I'm perfectly in position to attack this green with either forehand or backhand, just depending on what's feeling better on the day. Ben's happy with that forehand. He'd gone backhand the previous 2 days, and it threw it a little too low, so I think he's happy to get the little bit more distance by keeping the height longer.
He didn't turn it.
Yeah. So we see Chandler making the same mistake as he made on hole 2, just not quite getting the nose up angle and the flex angle quite like he wants.
Ben's going to get up through that gap for a second shot, so that he's going to have a good look for par.
And the hill just keeps going. It keeps getting steeper the whole way up to the
You're
back.
right. You're right. It does. When you hit that gap just past the trees there where the grass ends, it just goes up.
And I took a page out of Chandler's book here. I watched him throw a flex shot forehand on this approach shot the previous day, and it worked out a lot better than what I've been throwing. So I took that line as well and was able to get up into circle 1, which is quite a feat on this hole.
Everybody's going forehand on this approach,
which is interesting there. And
it helps on the run up too. I think there's just not a lot of good footing for throwing a backhand.
Mm-hmm. This is another pin that has been moved since previous years. It's moved a little bit further left. So there's a couple less trees in the way, but it's a little bit further up the hill. Talking with all the players that I could, everybody really liked this change for the tournament. So it made this approach shot feel a bit more repeatable, but still just as skillful as the approach to the previous pin.
Chandler
Ben lays up for a nice par.
That kind of gives you an idea of the slope here.
Joel has a chance to tie things up here, though.
Chains out just right. I'm sitting here at about 20 feet. Really happy to get that one. And
No problem. That's a good birdie.
It's a point of pride is I actually hadn't birdied this hole to this pin position ever until about a month ago, and I was able to get it all 3 rounds during the tournament. So a lot of the work that I've been putting in on this season and during the previous off season has really paid off.
And that hole finished at 0.06 points above par. So, definitely a challenge. Heading down to hole 4, it's a par 3. It's 271 feet straight downhill. You actually have a gap to the right of these trees there. But I actually found you guys hitting a different gap than I thought you would take. So it'll be interesting to see your perspective on this, Mark. But definitely we have the basket down here guarded by all of these trees.
This is a hole that definitely takes a couple times playing through to find the line that works best for you. I've seen backhand putter shots, I've seen tomahawks, thumbers, and you're going to see myself and maybe 1 or 2 others throw this forehand gap out to the left. Similar to hole 1, it feels like a choose your own adventure. There's not one particular gap doesn't line itself up best for everybody to play this hole. So I really like the movement of this pin position to ask for a little bit more distance out of the players, but also still require their creativity to pick a line that works for them. So you see Joel throw this tomahawk down the left-hand side. I think he hits up a little early, but he parked it in the previous round with that tomahawk. Ben showing us the forehand line, catches up just a little early, but he'll have a just outside circle 1 look, which is a really good spot to be in this hole.
And it's easy to go too far on this basket as well.
Chandler's going to clip a tree there too, so he's going to have everybody kind of just clip something on the way down.
See Joel trying to drift a little forehand around here, slide it up, and he does that really well.
He's going to have a long. He's going to have a putt, but it'll be downhill. Yeah.
Chandler trying to take his berg with the same line. And
yeah, that sidearm again just happened to be leaking right there again.
Yep, he's still at the edge, just outside the edge of circle 1, but pretty happy as I'm looking at this, and I've got to look at an Anheuser jump putt for it, but I'm really bad at those, so I decided to lay up and take my par on this hole.
This is Ben for his birdie. All right.
There it is. Ben makes a great circle 2 putt on this hole.
Chandler for his par. Oh. This is Joel for his par.
Joel dials it up nicely, and even with the par, he's going to take another stroke on Chandler.
Yeah. So tying things up, which, by the way, whenever we had the Silver Series here in Pittsburgh in 2022, Chandler had the lead, I think, by 3 strokes, and Joel overtook him for the win in 2022. It's interesting to see kind of a similar situation happening. Here we go on hole 5, which is a par 4 to 623 feet. Can Chandler push through and get his lead back? We'll see here in a moment.
This seems like a good hole to throw forehand because it turns to the right and go then up the hill and through these trees.
And it looks like you guys built a little bit of a roller fort there to prevent,
Yeah, that corner was cleaned up, but it was the hard corner was maintained, so it does require positioning on that on the tee shot to get a good look at the basket. Which again, that's the theme of the course, was perched on a slope.
Yeah, I can't say I've played another course that demands controlling how your disc lands for every single hole, quite like North Boundary does. See Ben drop the forehand out there. He gets that a little high, so he's not gonna have the angle into the green that he's hoping for.
Is this a roller, Mark? You throwing a roller on that?
Yes. So this is still the same right. So from this hole's perspective, it's a tailwind because it's been the same wind the last few days, and especially since the park mowed the grass in the week leading up to this, it definitely opens up the roller play a lot more. So we see Joel trying to throw the big flex forehand up into the gap, but it's
looks a little short.
He should have something to work with there, but he's going to have to hit one of the smaller gaps than the ideal forehand placement will be. As we see Chandler really lean into this one, and as he gets up into a little bit closer of a prime position.
Yeah.
But if you see that big tree just pretty close to the left of where Ben is, landing right at that tree is about as ideal of a landing zone as you can get to. And that's a pretty huge forehand to make it there. And as we see Ben just leak it a little bit early and catch the early tree bunker on the right.
Joel with a great toss there, great skip and a roll. Hey, he's putting.
As a victim of the ground play on this hole last year, I can tell you it's not guaranteed it's hitting the gap whether or not you'll stick.
Mark, yeah, there's great roll and
stuck. That's a good up.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're seeing grass on all these fairways and greens. This course is only 5 years old. It's amazing how much grass there is because this was all thickly wooded to begin with.
And Chandler has such a long stride on his stance there as he throws through the gap there, and he's going to be putting as well.
Yeah. But as you can see, since he got his tee shot a little bit farther, it definitely opened up the lane for him to throw through, as we're seeing Ben try to have to sneak something through this tree bunker here. And he gets up there nice and cleanly for the par save.
Joel for his birdie. Ben for par.
This is an interesting hole to me because when you play through the whole course and you look at it in retrospect, it definitely feels like one of the holes that you should get.
It played under par for the field
more of the time. But just
under
like many holes in this course, it can just get away from you so quickly, especially if you cut your tee shot too short right or you sail long OB.
And man, when we're talking about gaps to hit, hole 6 is a tight one and a long one. It is a par 5. It is 871 feet. You have to throw through the gap, land somewhere before this, I would think, and we're hopefully at where you were at, and then make your way through the trees here, down the hill. There's actually kind of 2 gaps here, really, that have formed to the right and to the left at the bottom of the hill. Is that right?
If you go far to the left, there's a route, and far to the right, there is a route as well. But in the middle, not so much.
And a lot of these trees have been removed in there as well. This is drone shots from a few years ago. But.
Yeah, I just want to shout out the crew that had built all these stone structures on the greens and some of the tees as well.
It's beautiful. It's the most picturesque basket, I think, on the course, and that's saying something. Mark, it looks like you're a little right there from there.
Yep. Pulled it just a little bit and left it a little high. Ended up kicking, I'm remembering correctly, I ended up kicking straight down onto the path.
And Joel
not
did
a spot
not
I'm stoked to be at, but
Joel ended up a little right there. He's going to have hard pitch out. That's for sure. Chandler with his sidearm, he's going to be in the gap.
Yeah, the way Chandler throws a couple flippier discs on his forehand, and the way he shapes some of these shots is just really a sight to behold. So we see Ben trying to follow Chandler's line and gets through and gets to the top of the hill as well, but we'll have not a very well set up second shot. As I mess up the footwork a little bit and throw that shot straight into the hill. So I'm lying too, and I haven't even reached where the ideal drive lands yet.
So Joel's really trying to throw a roller through the gap here, get as much distance as he can. There it goes. And that's going to take off. It's coming down the hill, across down the left side, and maybe not as left as he maybe wanted.
Yeah, but he gets himself to a really solid spot. At this point, I'm just trying to clear that second valley. If anything that gets over the valley and gets somewhat up the hill is something that I'm going to be pretty happy with. I come up just short of it, but I am going to be able to see the basket from where I'm standing.
Well, you weren't the only one that was struggling on this hole, Mark. It played half a stroke over par, even though it's less than 900 feet.
Ben throws a really good second shot there, cresting the second valley.
Oof.
Unfortunately, I don't think the camera quite caught it, but Chandler's left foot, when he planted, it slipped a little bit, caused that shot to be offline.
So you can't see it, but you did have to throw over a hill there.
Yep.
And looks like you're going to be a righter, so you should have a pitch down towards the basket from there.
Yeah. At that point, I'm just trying to set myself up to get up and down, just trying to not hit any of the first few trees in front of my face.
Like
wow, that really panned out quick on that overhead.
Yeah. Let's see. Joel is now in the left side of the gap, though, so he can now pitch right towards the basket, and he's going to have a uphill putt at it.
Yep. Yeah, you can see all these trees with the pink spray paint on top. These are all ones that have been taken out since the previous tournament.
They definitely over 100 trees taken out in the last year.
Yeah, and they definitely. The course still can feel oppressive when you're having a bad day, but these trees have been critical to opening up the lines just a little bit, as we see Ben lining his approach shot up and getting himself a short putt. Chandler, after hitting the tree on his second shot, smashed his third shot all the way past the pin. I'm looking at about a similar distance here, and I'm really just willing to accept bogey here, because any kind of run on this basket from this distance means I'm going to be having a 30, 40-foot comeback putt, and I'm more than happy to just take the single bogey.
So Joel with a beautiful putt there for his par. It was pretty spectacular. I think it was the first year Joel played here. I think he had a eagle putt here.
It's definitely there. If you hit the drive cleanly, you can get about 400, 450 feet off the tee into a good spot. And then, if I'm remembering correctly, I think you threw a roller, which is the preferred shot, especially from the ideal landing zone. The righty backhand roller since the hill slopes right to left, you can get it to cut all the way down the hill, and get yourself some looks at putts. So I even saw him do it in practice a couple of days before this round. So it's definitely there, and as we'll see, there are more opportunities for rollers out on this course.
So hole 7's a par 3. It's 248 feet, and this is a straight uphill shot, tightly wooded here, and definitely on a raised basket on top of that. So, I mean, you really have a low ceiling and a hill to contend with, right?
Every hole.
Yeah, right.
Absolutely. This hole says it's 248, plays closer to 380, 390 on the air shot, as we see Joel rip this little turnover backhand, clean through the gap. He's going to make it about 25 feet long with a little tree in the way. So definitely not an incredible shot, but not quite the side of the basket that I think he's hoping for.
Chandler, that might be a little, yeah, he's a little shy there, but he's got a putt at it.
Yep.
I do want to take a moment and say a special thank you to everybody who puts in hard work to maintain this course because we have just some outstanding. It takes a lot of work for this
Yeah, you
length.
gotta shout out the course promoters, Doug Cloutier and Regis Stump and Zack
Hmm.
Miller. Plus, there's a ton of volunteers that have been coming out
Yeah.
to prune and groom this course.
Yeah, thank you guys. It's absolutely amazing whenever the community can come together and do this.
Jammed that in there, Mark.
Wow, Mark.
Yep. Yep. Definitely pretty happy with that putt. Trying to take a page out of Isaac Robinson's putting form of just kind of stepping up and going for it, not really thinking about it too long. But
Yeah.
this is one of the holes that I've really come to appreciate and love, particularly this pin position, because you can see forehand, backhand, roller. It doesn't really matter. It's a hole that lets you pick your best strength
Mm.
for the approach. Unfortunately, we see Chandler and Joel, both their putts come up a little low.
Yeah, but played a little bit under par. 13% of the players were birdieing this hole, so it's there.
Oh yeah. The grass was pretty long this weekend, even after the mowing, so we didn't see any of at least I didn't see any of the absolutely atrocious rollaways that I've seen in previous years on the screen for folks coming in, hitting the stonework, and rolling all the way back down the hill. That's can be pretty discouraging when that happens.
Yeah.
So moving on to hole 8, it's a par 5. It's 702 feet. There's actually 2 lines really I've seen on this, right? There's the right side of the tree and then there's the left side. And really on the right side here, you're playing up to the top of the hill. This is the other end of the hill here. And you play kind of around the top here.
Yeah, I call it the Great Circle Route because the straightest way to the basket goes up over the hill, and it's the shortest route, but it's the steepest one as well. I'm guessing that Chandler might take a forehand route down to the left, but we'll have to see. There are some really big oak trees right near this tee. I love this location.
Yep. I'm going to show everybody here the local route.
Ah.
There's a fair number of trees on the left side, but if you get the disc vertical, you have a good chance of missing all of them. And Joel ended up co-opting this play as well. Let's see, fortunately, doesn't get it quite vertical enough.
Yeah, I think he clipped
right
the
away.
tree there.
Chandler's going to show the traditional forehand hyzer route.
Oh.
And unfortunately, but even still, it's not. Again, there's no best line on this hole. It's really play into your strengths, and you have to hit. At some point, you have to hit a tight gap about 150 feet off the tee.
Wow, and Ben is just the edge of the tall grass there, and that was an amazing drive.
Oh yeah.
It looks like it is uphill over the horizon, but in actuality, the tee and the basket are at the same elevation.
Wow.
Yeah, but don't let the 702-foot distance fool you. This is all of a par 5 as we see Joel lining up this roller.
And that made it up the hill. Holy cow.
Yep, he's crested the hill and even turned over it. And as somebody who's played this course a lot and attempted that shot, that is a really incredible result from where he was.
Mark, you're playing the top crown of the hill there?
Yep. I missed my gap a little bit on this shot, but was fortunate to kick out into the short grass, and we'll have a kind of funky look down towards the pin.
Now Ben has to throw up the hill and through the gap there, and he's going to have a nice little upshot. He's going to clip a tree and a little more right, but he should be okay.
Yep. Chandler looking at a similar line from a little closer, but with how uphill it is, it's really hard to get the distance necessary to reach the screen without throwing either a righty backhand that bends with the hill the whole way, or some kind of roller. As unfortunately he hits a tree and rolls down to the other side of the approach path. I'm just chipping a little forehand down, get to round circle 2, edge of circle 1, circle 2, and I'm pretty happy with that shot.
Joel with a nice smooth toss up towards the basket. Just a little too long, actually. You're going to have a roll.
Yeah, and he'd done this the previous day as well. He'd overshot this approach shot just a little bit. There is a pin position back there, but it's
Ben,
not one we've been using.
Nice up there.
That was for birdie. Oh, sorry. No, that was for eagle.
Ben's parked for birdie. I know he's pretty stoked about that shot.
Chandler's throwing from down on the left side where a lot of the discs tend to collect. The hill, the gravity is so strong, it just pulls everything left.
And filters right on up there, and he'll have a short putt for his par.
Joel from circle 2. Just a little left there. Tickled the chains. It's like a little right there.
Yeah, just a little air ball. It's been my miss all season, and unfortunately it rears its head there.
Oh, right side chain out.
Yeah, you see a little bit of frustration there as I hit myself in the leg. Unfortunately, that had been my fourth spit out from the weekend. That was a putt that I thought was 100% in. I'd already looked down, was getting ready to pick up my disc on the ground, and see that spit through after making what I thought was a good par putt was
frustrating.
Really was quite annoying.
Yeah. So Ben getting the single birdie on the hole. And things are staying tied up top as Ben ties up with you for second as we move on to hole 9, which is a par 3, 493 feet. And this is just a bomber. I love watching the discs fly on this one. I don't know if you guys like releasing them as much as I like watching them, but I mean, it's definitely a big downhill shot here. A lot of people were throwing over the OB, which you see the fence line is OB, and kind of having it crash back towards the basket, which is on a raised platform.
Yeah, you'll see players attempt the low line on occasion, but it's really not there to get to the basket unless you throw a roller of some kind, either forehand or backhand. The most common play you'll see here is people taking a big forehand out over the trees to the left, and similar to that you said, Brian, kind of crashing it down. But those trees on the left get taller every year, and this big tall forehand, what once was a flat shot, you're steadily throwing more and more up, so it's getting harder and harder to get the distance. So a really common spot you'll see is right around where Ben landed there, is along that trench about 80 feet short of the pin.
And that looks...
He's
that is
not
right.
even watching it. He's looking like he knows where it's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, he's going to find that common gathering point over on the right side along with Ben.
It looks like the wind's going to catch that a little bit more and flip it up too.
Yep, Chandler just not quite getting the Anheuser angle he's looking for out of it, but he'll have a makeable putt. So I step up trying to repeat Chandler's shot and just leak it super early and nose up, and I'm just at this point I'm irate with myself because I'm going to come up way short on the right side of the hole up in the woods, and at this point I'm just praying to have some kind of gap to throw through. I did get fortunate by having a little forehand, a couple double gap to hit, and end up skipping it right up next to the pin, and I'm very happy to get away with a short par putt.
Ben pitching up towards the basket. Oh no, he caught an edge. Oh, and that's going to go all the way to OB, unfortunately. And now we have Joel here doing a similar shot. Okay, all right. Well, the disc caught that time.
Years a little long.
Everybody's got to be thinking of that. They got to be a little scared after seeing that go OB, I would think.
Oh, yeah.
Here we have Ben.
A funky approach, just because it's right in front of you. I've seen more discs roll away like that than you'd think. Fortunately, Ben can't quite get his bogey.
And then out of bounds is circled. It's right at circle's edge.
And Joel was just a little high there. Just that height difference where the basket is enough to really mess with you. Of course, you can see the wind going too.
Yeah, I think Joel was expecting the wind to push that putt down a little bit because with the tailwind and him putting uphill, it should be hitting the top of the flight plate, but just didn't quite work out, or he over adjusted for it, as we see Chandler tap out his par and Ben unfortunately tap out his
double bogey.
But they weren't the only ones. There was 38% of the field that was bogey in that hole.
So Chandler has taken the lead back from Joel heading into hole 10. Join us next time. We're really excited to show you the final 9 holes of the 2024 Butler County Disc Golf Classic. Until next time, keep banging those chains.